How's it going, guys? So, it's day 20. I made a video yesterday, but I was so exhausted. I had started this new job, and it felt like working a 12-hour shift. Like, to go from not working to doing that, it was pretty drastic for me. So, I was dead tired. I went to sleep tired. I woke up tired. I made a video, and I didn't like how it looked. So, I just said I'll post it the next day. So, yeah, today I'm just kind of recovering from work. I will say that because I was so busy, I didn't have my thoughts drift too much because I was just focused on work, and I got a lot done. I did not have any energy to like go to the gym. It was just that the job is easy, but it's just mentally I just felt like I just wasn't there. I kept trying to keep myself focused and present, but it's almost like I knew I didn't belong there. It's like I know it's temporary, but it was just like physically and mentally a lot, and it was hard to kind of keep. Like I also felt myself getting a little negative and just a tad bit stressed about it. I mean, I don't know. I know it's supposed to be very temporary, but it's hard to stay present, to stay positive, and to stay like mindful sometimes when you're in those type of environments, you know. So it was just a lot, but I will say that I feel like my urges are under control, and just the fact that I was very mindful of my time and I wasn't wasteful with it, I was able to just not get too distracted into any temptations or anything like that. So, what I want to talk about? I want to talk about just discipline. I feel like I mentioned in the last video, the reason I was able to retain for 4 months is I had a very disciplined mind, and I didn't have too many people around me that were discouraging me. So, again, you are a product of your environment. You are a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time around. I've realized that I've let people in my life who did not really, they just weren't walking the same path as I was. So I may have, I may have listened to them or taken their advice on, how far I should go on this journey. And I have to realize that this is a very narrow path. It's a lonely path. It's a path that most men are not going to follow. So naturally, they're going to try to deter me from this path. And we just, as men, have to learn to become more disciplined. And just to stop setting ourselves up to fail. I found that I had like one more phone number in my phone book that could have tempted me into doing something I shouldn't be doing. So I just ended up blocking and then deleting that number. Like there was no need for a conversation or anything like that. So yeah, just keeping yourself out of environments where you know you're going to be tempted into lust. We have to just do better with keeping ourselves accountable and not making excuses. And just become like more disciplined. I feel like a lot of men just lack it today. Just being very disciplined with yourself. Doing the things you say you're going to do. Like I missed a day of gym yesterday, so I need to make sure that I go today because I don't want to miss too many days of going to the gym because then I'm going to end up, it's going to become a habit and then I'm going to just stop going. So I have to force myself to go. This discipline in all areas of life, when it comes to this journey, when it comes to your finances? Are you financially disciplined? Are you financially responsible? Or do you focus more on your wants other than your, I'm sorry, do you focus more on your needs as opposed to your wants? Because a lot of us, we confuse needs with wants. We may confuse one with the other, and we kind of know what our basic needs are. Are you living above your means? That's being financially responsible and financially disciplined. And I feel like your discipline, you kind of carry it throughout other aspects of your life. It could impact your discipline in the gym. Are you working out at least, I don't know, at least a couple of times a week? I don't know. I would say when it comes to exercise, I feel like having a routine is more helpful. There's actually one thing I learned about having like a routine. It may sound a little boring, sounds a little repetitive, but doing things on a schedule, I realize, has helped me keep my habits up. It's always in those little daily habits that add up. And over time, you'll see the results. But nobody really wants to do that part, I call it the middle part. We may look on Instagram and see these successful millionaires and entrepreneurs, and we get to see the success stories, but a lot of people, they don't really talk about the middle part, the work that they did to get there. And that's also the part where most people end up failing, and they end up quitting and going back to their old lifestyles because it got too difficult. So this is the middle part I feel like I'm going through, just where your discipline is going to be tested the most. And that's what's going to happen as you go longer on this journey. Like your discipline will be tested. You'll be put and aligned in situations that's really going to test you and see, have you really changed? So I know I said the streak doesn't matter so much. I feel like it's I think it ties directly to like how disciplined you are, because there are going to be like a lot of people who are going to deter you from this path. Another thing, like dieting. I remember when I was detoxing from sugar, just the white processed sugar. Like I still had fruits and things that are naturally sweet, and it took me a good 2 months to fully detox from the processed sugar. So, and I felt good about that. I felt healthier. I felt lighter. I felt like I had more energy. I didn't have all these roller coasters of emotions and spikes of dopamine. Like I felt like my energy levels were stable because I got rid of the sugar, the corn syrup, the cornstarch, all that processed stuff. And then I started hanging around, friends at the time who did not take their diet as seriously. Now, I felt like I was becoming a little preachy, trying to tell them, okay, you guys should eat healthy, you should eat healthier. But I don't like to go too much into that, because people are going to do what they're going to do. And if they want to take their health seriously, they're going to do it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it type of deal. So I just learned to just stop talking so much and just do what I need to do. But it's definitely hanging around people who are, not that I'm better than them, but we're just walking different paths. I just realized, okay, they do not take their health seriously. They're not really as disciplined as I am. And as you become more disciplined, you will notice men who are not as disciplined, and they may make excuses for it. This is when I started to notice like things as I started to hold myself accountable more and stop making excuses. It became a lot easier for me to notice when other men were making excuses. I was in this group with other entrepreneurs, and what I've noticed about this group of men is the high amount of accountability that they had. Like, they did not make any excuses. If they didn't work out, or if they didn't get their 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or if they didn't follow through on the things that they said they were going to do, they held themselves accountable. They just said, okay, you know what? I should have done this. You know what? I could do better. I need to level up. instead of blaming it on other people and blaming it on circumstances and saying things like, I don't have time, they actually say, no, the time was there, but I just chose not to do what I was supposed to do. And it was just such a different type of environment, like where everyone is holding themselves accountable and to like a higher standard. And it starts to become contagious. Like as you see these group of men hold themselves accountable, you naturally will follow suit. So there were no victims in that group. Like everyone, all the men in there, I wouldn't say, well, some of them blamed themselves, or they might go a little bit overboard with being down in the dumps for not following through. And we're supportive. We were supportive of each other as well. We lifted each other up. We still held each other accountable. So it was good to have that, to be in that type of environment with men who don't make excuses. They are very disciplined, and they do the things that they say they're going to do. And I think we need more of that. We need more men who are just high at accountability, and they take ownership and responsibility for the things that are happening in their lives. So being in that group, I think I was in that group for about 8 or 9 months. I became a lot more accountable, of my actions, and became less of a victim, just blaming other people and situations for why I didn't do this or why I didn't do that. So becoming more disciplined and becoming more of a man of accountability, it was a lot easier for me to notice other men who do make excuses, who do play victim, who do blame other people for their problems. It became a lot easier for me to spot that out. Not that I called it out, but it's just more of an observation. And also, as you stop making excuses for things, I'm starting to notice men who do make excuses. As you start to become more truthful, more honest with yourself and with other people, it's a lot easier to spot out people who maybe are not as authentic. And as you start to expand your awareness, you can... One thing I've been able to do is read intention. Like, people say a lot of things, but their intention can be something completely different. So I'm able to just read the energy behind people and their intention. So I don't focus so much on the words, but just the energy and the intention behind it. So you'll be able to do things like that, and that'll help you become more perceptive when it comes to dealing with people. So there's a lot to this journey, and there are going to be a lot of people who deter you from this path. A lot of men may try to steer you in another direction, which is why I don't really share everything with, quote unquote friends. I mean, I'm not saying you need to get rid of your friends, but you need to just be mindful of who you're spending your time with. You might, just go meet some new friends. So you don't have to get rid of your old friends, but just try to surround yourself with men who are more aligned with who you are. And you might have to go through a lonely season or a lone wolf season. That's okay. I went through that, and that was very short term, but it helped me see which people were aligned with my path and which ones weren't. Which people were trying to actually help me become a better version of myself, and which people are trying to hold me back. Which people like the version of me that was the victim or the people-pleasing type. There are people who only want you around because maybe the lower version of you or the lower nature of you probably served them at that time. Maybe there's some people, they're not in support of your growth, of your evolution, or your transformation. Some people are not going to be supportive. And that's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. Some people may not want you in their lives anymore. I wouldn't see it as rejection. I just see it as the universe realigning you with people who are on your path. So I don't take rejection as harshly as I used to, because I just see that, okay, God is just realigning me with people who are walking the same path as I am. There's going to be so much resistance. There are so many distractions in this world in today's time. So I feel like you have to be even more disciplined than you've ever been. And you have to have strong boundaries as well. Because there are going to be people who test you, who try to pull you back into old environments. They're going to question everything you do. They might say things like, "Why are you changing?" And I've went through all of that, feeling like I've had like no support. Not that I'm entitled to it, but it's just something that happens as you walk that narrow path. You have to be willing to go against the grain. You have to be willing to take criticism, from left and right, and you just got to have like some tough skin, because you're going to get a lot of pushback. You're going to get a lot of resistance. A lot of people trying to tell you what you should do with your life, but they don't know anything about your journey or what you've gone through. They don't know about your dark nights of the storm. They don't know about the nights that you spend alone, crying, or either you might have been depressed. They may not know about that. But then, they'll call you out of the woodworks and, making judgments and decisions about what you should do with your life when they've missed seasons of what you've gone through. So I know to take people's advice with a grain of salt, especially if they're not on the same path as I am. So like the people you take advice from, they should be people who actually have what you want. Like, I don't know, would you take financial advice from someone who is, let's say, like, I don't know, $20,000 in debt? Or would you take fitness advice from someone who is in the obese category? It's not to talk about them, but I'm just making a point. Like, we have to be mindful of who we're taking advice from. So, the advice that I'm taking from, the people I'm taking advice from, they're people who actually have what I want. You have a much better chance of getting what you want going that route. You have to become more disciplined on this journey. And we have to just stop making excuses. There are things you can do to make this journey easy for you. Just set yourself up for success. Avoid those environments that tempt you into whatever. Avoid those websites. I don't know if you have to put a blocker on your phone or whatever you got to do. Just don't set yourself up like that. You're just asking for it at that point. Don't go to certain websites or on Instagram or wherever if you know where that's going to lead to. You already know. So we have to just... Accountability is good. The one thing I love about this group is that, Sons of God, is that we do hold ourselves accountable, and that is great. That's one part of it. But not repeating the same mistakes and actually learning from the relapses. Like, okay, what did you learn from this? It's a chance for you to just not repeat the same actions the same mistakes that you did before that tempted you into less. That's what I've been using my relapses as. It's an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself, about your urges, your triggers, and which people to avoid, which places to avoid. It's going to test you as you go on those longer streaks. And as you overcome those urges, and as you build your discipline, you'll have much more respect for yourself, because you had the discipline to overcome all of those tough moments, all those triggering moments. You'll have increased level of discipline and, confidence and respecting yourself for being able to do that. You actually feel in control. So stay on this path. Don't let distraction tempt you into releasing. You guys can go a lot further than you have if you just learn to be very intentional with where you're putting your time and your energy and where you're spending your money. All of that. What do you put into your body? You have to be willing to make some sacrifices. If you're not disciplined yet, you have to be willing to make some sacrifices. Once you become more disciplined, maybe you can indulge in some things. You can have, you can enjoy some of the pleasures of life. But if you don't have the discipline, then you have to be willing to make some sacrifices until you get the discipline. And by that point, you won't even need to indulge in anything, It's something you have to experience for yourself. Become more disciplined, and you'll go a lot further on this journey than you thought that you're capable of.